view.
Go, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we all know, or know by now, I would think, that Princess House has sort of updated the nonstick cookware. So let me tell you a few things that they've done to it and kind of why they've done it. And if you have any questions, we can go through those at the end. So they've changed the color just to a more of a slate gray versus the real dark black. And one of the reasons is because if you're cooking on here, let's say you're frying bacon or something, and you don't quite clean it properly, when you cook with proteins and you leave something behind, it's called a fond, F-O-N-D. The residue is called fond. And if you don't wash it and then you cook with it again, it's kind of cooking that fond right in there. So let's say you do that every single time. Then you're going to have a layer of this all over your pan, and then you're going to call us and say, my pan's no longer nonstick. But it's not that it's no longer nonstick, you haven't washed it properly. So they've done it for a little bit of a lighter color, so that way people can see food residue on it better. It's the only reason why they've changed the color. If you have a food buildup in there, weirdest thing ever, you go get some Blue Dawn. It has to be Blue Dawn, and you put Blue Dawn and water in there, and you boil it for about 10 minutes, and it'll take that all off. Another good tip, another thing you want to be selling your customers to go along with the nonstick, that new scratchy sponge is really good, but you really want to sell them the scraper brush. Because on the edge of the brush, there's actually a scraper, which you can use for any of your Princess House pieces to scrape off, kind of like a pot scraper, but it's right on the brush. You can use it for any of your Princess House pieces to scrape off the extra food residue, okay? So those are the two pieces you should be trying to sell them with the nonstick. I actually like selling them the cleaner as well, so then they can clean the back of their pan. Because on the back of it's dark, it's just because their burners had something on it or whatever, right? It's not really clean. Okay, so that's why they changed the color. They have updated the surface a little bit too. So the company that makes this is still Whitford. But in I think we've been selling this for 8 years. I want to say 8 or 9 years. In that time, of course, technology on everything has improved. So their technology for making the nonstick has improved as well. So instead of having to do a 3-layer process, they only have to do a 2-layer process. And it's actually a better nonstick surface. So what they told us is it's called surface tension. So it'll repel the food a little bit better. So kind of like think if you took a drop of water and put it on a piece of paper, when the water soaks into the paper, right? Or if the water sits higher up, that's called surface tension. So that's why if you put a drop of water on here, it's not soaking in and spreading, it's sitting there because it's creating more surface tension. You don't have to go into that at your parties, but that's just so you know kind of what's changed about it. So I have actually found, I started using the 8-inch at home, and I truthfully can tell when I'm doing my eggs and stuff, I can actually tell it's actually a better nonstick surface. Like things are really coming off it a lot easier. So it's good. They also changed the handles just a smidge. They actually do take customer feedback, and they made it a little bit of a flatter handle. I don't know if you remember on the old ones, it was kind of sort of this edge sort of sat up. So you're kind of digging into it, where this is actually flat. It's got like a thumb hold. They actually did that on purpose. And then the top of it is actually got a little bit of a thumb hold too, so it's just a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more space, especially for the guys that are cooking. There's a little bit more space for them to get their hand in there. And then the side benefit for making it a flat handle, when you do take it over, it sits a little bit better. It doesn't like roll around and stuff on your, it'll actually just sit there. Pretty close. Okay. Other than that, everything else has stayed the same, except for the name. They now call it Eterna, just because it's a newer process. But who cares? Nobody's going to care at your parties. Okay? What did you say, Shannon?
It's for eternity.
For eternity. Yeah, there you go. Cookware, non-stick cookware in the U.S., I don't know the statistics for Canada, but it's going to be, kind of the same sort of ratio. It's a $34 billion industry for cookware in the U.S. 1.4 billion is non-stick. It's a huge industry. Not for Princess House alone. I mean, like, how much cookware sells in the United States. That's a lot of people buying a lot of cookware, so it's a really big market, which is why we're updating this. And Princess House said they are the first company to get this new 2-layer better surface tension produce. She said, we don't want to be the company that's, and they have it. She said, we want to be the company that has it first. So they're really committed, the whole office staff there, is to having it the newest, best things, first on the market. They're the first ones that Whitford gave this system to. So they're like really on top of it. And it's all women, which is why they really put a lot of thought into how it's going to actually be used, because they actually own Princess House in their own homes and they're using it in their own homes as well. Which is why they also updated the flippers and stuff. A little firmer, matched with slate gray, a little bit more masculine, because we have a lot of guys buying Princess House. So you don't, not everybody wants green. It's too specific, too much of like, I don't like that color, whereas the gray is kind of is pretty basic. Oh, and you will notice on, not this one per se, but on the other non-stick, or on the other handles, where it's got an actual handle, they've actually made the handle not a solid piece of metal, it's kind of got a split in it, so it doesn't transfer as much heat up through the handle. So not that I ever found my handle got hot, but I guess some people did. So it's the next generation, oh, and it's lighter. I actually thought that today, I thought it seemed a little bit lighter. It's because it's a 2 process, not a 3 process, it's a little bit lighter. So what I would recommend at your parties, you can definitely still use your same cookware, nobody knows the difference. You're not going to go into all this product difference with a new crowd or a crowd. Just this is so you know it when you're talking to somebody one-on-one and they're like, oh my gosh, I have Excalibur, does it mean it sucks? No, it's just a new technology, new process. They figure they'll have enough Excalibur for roughly a year to do any product replacements, in case anybody has any product issues. And then they said, of course, as per usual, they'll take, let's say it's 5-10 years down the road. Everything is always on a like case-by-case scenario in terms of replacing product. Okay? Okay. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's it, I think. Oh, and actually, just as a couple of little cooking tips. Oh, I forgot to do this with Blue Dawn. When you do the Blue Dawn and you simmer in it for 10 minutes, scrub it while it's still warm. Forgot to tell you that. And how to test for your pan for readiness. Of course, we recommend you cook on a medium to medium-low heat. If somebody's pan has turned brown, they've cooked on it, like they've burnt in it, like a lot. So it shouldn't be brown at all. And you know your pan's ready if you take and flick some water on and the water sizzles. So that's a good readiness test for your customers to use. Oh, and if somebody uses metal in here, let's say they cut a knife in here, again, it doesn't ruin the nonstick finish. You'll see superficial like cut lines in it, but it won't actually affect the nonstick in any way. So you just want it to, we just want people to clean it properly. That's kind of the biggest thing. Now, the Kamal. So, this is a new and emerging category that's coming up in the cookware and housewares product collection. It currently, as of last year, was a what was my number on that? $123 million of cast iron are getting sold annually in the United States. So it's kind of like that number's coming up, up, up. And I know when I go to the higher end kitchen stores, you see a lot of cast iron pieces around. So let me tell you a little bit about how ours is different. First of all, the name, Mi Cocina. It's obviously a Spanish name because this is kind of a Spanish type design in terms of what it's used for. It means my kitchen. Mi Cocina, my kitchen. And it's called a comal. So even though it's spelled C-O-M-A-L, it's pronounced co, so K-O-M-A-L is how it's pronounced. Okay? So the whole idea with using a cast iron pan is you can use it for dry heat cooking. So the reason that they have it specifically, the Spanish people will make their own homemade tortillas. So then you don't use any oil or anything, you do the flatbread in there like as a dry heat. I would imagine different ethnic groups do the same thing, yeah? Like we would be making Bannock dry heat cooking.
Bannock.
We would be making...
Bannock.
Bannock. Would you do bread? No, Bannock for sure, right? Mm-hmm. What else would be dry heat? Somebody else said something. Maybe the Lebanese crowd. I remember going to a Lebanese party one time and they were making their own great big huge pita bread.
Yeah, use it on the stove.
Yeah. So this goes stovetop. You can of course use oil, but the whole point is that you can do the dry heat cooking.
Oven too, right?
Things. Huh?
Oven too.
Oven too. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this. Patina is natural oils, food processing, infusing, and service. Okay, so the whole idea with this one is when you cook You know, like I remember as a kid, my mom had a cast iron pan. She kind of like left the grease in there. That's good for these things. You want that, it kind of seasons it, right? You want that grease, like bacon grease was always there, I think, at our house.
Yeah.
And you just used it over and over and over again. I don't know how healthy it was, but whatever. The little bit of the difference with this versus like the old school cast iron. Now I never knew this, and some of you might know this. If you had water that sat in here, it would rust it.
Mm-hmm.
So the new cast iron, what they've done with this one to help you with that is they put an enamel porcelain finish, or an enamel
On the bottom.
finish on top. So if water's sitting in there, it will not rust. And the reason it rusts is because it's cast iron. It's iron.
On the bottom.
Yeah, the whole thing. This is enameled as well, so this won't rust either. Yeah, this won't rust either. Okay, and then what they did is they put this the porcelain, enameled porcelain, pretty red, just for attractiveness, which it does really look attractive. I think this looks so much better than if it was just black. And I usually see reddish type colors in the kitchen stores, don't you guys?
Mm-hmm.
So looks really good as well. Because it's iron, and iron is ferrous, meaning iron is magnetic, it will go on your induction stove. So you can use it on any type of cooktop. Only up to 500 degrees. So I probably wouldn't say barbecuing it. And there's two reasons I wouldn't say barbecuing it. I don't know about your barbecue grill, but as much as I try to clean it, there is some gunk left on my barbecue, no matter how much I clean it. If that gets onto the bottom of this, and then it's a little dirty, and you take it onto your stove without cleaning it, it will bake the food particles either into here or into your stove, and you'll never get them off. So this does have to be perfectly clean, which is again why they made this nice, shiny, colored background for you, so you can see any food particles. It didn't matter in my mom's generation. It wouldn't matter if you had a gas stove. It didn't matter with the old coil stoves, but your new flat top stoves, your new flat induction stoves, I don't think anybody wants food baked into their stove. So it does have to be perfectly clean, and that might be the one tip that I would share at my parties, to make sure that it's perfectly clean every time that you use it. And then, so I told one of my customers, I said, you're not going to get it perfectly clean off the barbecue.
No.
Why would you put one on a barbecue?
I don't know, people want to do everything. So, and plus your barbecue can get pretty easily past 500 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So I would use it on the barbecue for two reasons. Select a burner that is the same size or smaller than the base of your comal. If you're using a gas stove, the flame should not extend up the sides, just like on your griddles, because it's going to transfer that heat really, really quickly. And never use high heat. Cast iron has kind of non-stick properties, but it's definitely not non-stick. So if you're cranking it on high, it's going to burn really, really fast. They do recommend silicone-headed like flippers and stuff. Nylon or wood, okay, no knives. They said no knives. Again, using knives or utensils with sharp edges should not be used to cut foods in your comal. It will cause surface abrasions. But they said absolutely nothing sharp in your cast iron. Okay. And you
So what
don't
do you
necessarily need to season it, although you can.
What do you use it
Because
for?
it's enamel finished. What?
What do you use it for?
Okay, well, I'm kind of thinking, well, any ideas? Like, I can see myself using it for like a wicked awesome pizza in the oven or anything like that. You can also do your pizza on top of the stove because you don't have to add any oil or stuff. I see all of the cooking shows, they do stovetop pizzas. A lot of stovetop things that would have been done in the oven. Again, growing up, I know my mom used it a lot for like chickens and meats and stuff like that, the cast iron. I'm not as familiar with cooking. Wait, you have their ideas what you guys
But
would
it
use?
was more like that frying pan, though, right?
Waffles. Oh, pancakes would be really
Pancakes
good
you
too.
would always
Mhm.
use. I still do. Like,
Kind of anything I guess you would normally fry.
Yeah, you probably can't,
You
could
just-
you do steak?
You don't need
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't need any, what'd you say, Kim?
You wouldn't need any
Oil.
oil at all
No, nothing at all.
in the cast iron, just a tiny.
Oh.
Wouldn't-
And they did say, because it is cast iron, it's a little bit softer. Let's say you have your spoon, whatever your spoon, you go, you're kind of tap, tap, tap on the edge, and you're cleaning off your spoon, you have a highly likely chance of getting little chips and nicks out of it. So they said to think of chips as art, because it is going to happen with your cast iron. So if I take my cast iron to Jean's house, I know mine has a nick right here, that's my cast iron pan. They said to pretty much expect nicks and chips around the edges, just because that's the way it is. It's not as hard as stainless steel. If it does rust, you oil it.